Hello and welcome back. This is your session 4. Session 3 isn't there because it's just an online thing. There's no video for it. So let's look at communicating ideas, opinions, and clearly and coherently. So this is why there's no session 3, because it's molded into this one as well. So you can see it's session 3 and 4. Good. Excuse me, wheezing a bit there. Right. Okay. So aims and objectives. By the end of this session, you must be aware of how to text and purpose. You must be aware of how text and purpose of a text affects the tone and register used. Know the difference between formal and informal writing. Be aware of levels of formality. Supply supporting evidence in their writing. So very much if you think about your reading skills, we talked about formal and informal reading. And we talked about backing things up in evidence when we read. So it's no different to writing, right? We're just going to apply what we learned in reading into writing. Learners should be able to adapt the tone choice of their writing. And if you remember in the reading, we talked about the writer's voice, the writer's tone. So now you're applying it and use the correct register. And learners could be able to use specific words within their own writing. So again, at level 2, you need to be able to adapt the style of writing appropriate for the task, and the skills requires you to understand the audience and the purpose of the task. So you've got knowing the text purpose and understanding the audience. Okay, lovely. So formal or informal, one of the first things you need to decide is the formality of your text. Watch the video. So go back into your Canvas account, watch the video, and then come back and we'll have a discussion. Good. So formal or informal, what makes text formal or informal? Well, first of all, the purpose. What is the text trying to achieve? If you're applying for a job, then you need to use a formal approach. Articles could be formal or informal, depending on the purpose and the audience. However, I would probably go, if you're reading an academic piece of work, it is normally always formal. Audience, if you know the person well, the text is likely to be more informal. If you don't know the person or they are senior to you, the text is likely to be formal. So again, it's a bit like the way we speak to people. If I know you and I'm familiar with you, I may use colloquialisms, abbreviations, humour, etc. But if I don't know you, I will remain professional and then formal in my language. Good. Tone is exactly the same. So informal writing may be emotional or humorous, where formal writing is more serious. So we're talking about what we've just said there. The punctuation, formal writing has correct punctuation. Informal writing may use dashes and dramatic punctuation. So again, if we think about exaggerating, you might go ... or explanation. Language and grammar, informal writing is more controversial, language and grammar. Informal writing, again, you may have more colloquialisms, the use of slangs, abbreviations, where formal writing, you will be praised, correct, and to the point. So, for some reason, this box is already filled in, which is very unhelpful. So what style and tone should you use when writing these tasks? So again, here, we've just covered that. An email's formal, an article could be both. An email to a friend, normally informal. Complete an online form to complain about poor service could be formal. An email to your boss asking for time off, formal. And a comment to an online forum, informal. Good. So what's the point? Each piece of writing should have clear purpose, and the style you choose will help to convey this. For example, the purpose of a letter is to respond to a job advertisement. It's trying to get the job, or at least an interview, and it will be formal. Complete the table. So here we just need to discuss its purpose and whether or not we think it's formal or informal. So a positive article announcing the opening of a new theme park. So I guess that the purpose of that is to get new customers, to persuade people to come. And you might use both, I would say. I mean, to be fair, it's probably formal because you want people to come. but then you might have an informal approach because you wanted to be a bit more laid back. So I would probably argue that one depends on your marketing strategy. Oh, a letter to the council complaining about the closure of a leisure centre. So again, that's to complain about your dissatisfaction, and that should then be hopefully formal. A report giving sales figures and forecasts for your company. So the aim of that, or the purpose of that, would be to give a synopsis of how well you're doing. Again, that might be formal. And a hotel review on a travel blog. So that would be to give your views and opinions on what you thought, and that might be informal. Let's have a look. There we go. Formal, formal, formal. Ah, informal. There we go. But again, I would argue, depend on your marketing strategy there. Lovely. Okay, so we now want you to complete activity 1. So if you go back to your Canvas account, have a look at activity 1, have a go at that, and then come back. So we have a level of formality. So we go from highly formal to quite informal, to quite formal, sorry, to quite informal to highly informal. And you can see there, highly informal uses complex structure, specialist words, interpersonal language, serious tone. For instance, a job application, a letter or an email to complain, email to boss or report would be highly formal, and quite formal would be similar to the above, but room for some cliches and colloquialisms. Quite formal, where the subject matter is less serious for the audience, and highly informal, where you personally know the audience and the subject isn't serious, for example, an email, tone, or letter about a comment. Remember, the level of formality here may change depending on the subject matter and the audience. For example, a newsletter article about the rise in local crime should be more formal than that of a newsletter of a film review. Okay, so look at these and decide the amount of formality. So an email to your new boss about time off, so that would be formal or quite formal, and an email to your long-term boss asking for a holiday, so formal, quite formal maybe. A forum comment on a new pop video, quite informal. A formal comment about an article about council tax rises, so that would be formal, because that would be annoying, right? A text describing how to cook lasagna, quite informal. It's not serious, I guess, cooking lasagna. And a text teaching children how to cook cupcakes. Well, because we're teaching children to cook cupcakes, we need to keep that reasonably formal there. So tone choices, along with choosing the level of formality, you need to think about the tone, and formality often taken doesn't need, so does it need to be in? So is it serious or fun? A serious article will always be formal in nature, highly impersonal and complex, but a fun article might break a few rules with unusual text features like big headlines and colloquial language. Optimistic or persuasive, what's your message? If you're writing an article on global warming, do you want to be present and upbeat about the view of the future, or a gloomy one? Sarcastic or genuine can be helpful here, but in the right circumstances, you might need a sarcastic tone to make your point. A complaint letter could use sarcasm, speech marks to make a point. So tone choice, what tone are these extracts? So with the right funding, I believe the council could improve the conditions of our beautiful park to the former glory. So what do we think about that tone choice? So if we go back, I think that's optimistic, right? They're trying to be optimistic. The film is so-called a mockumentary, is one in a long line of this genre, which I have to say has been done to death. What do we think? think maybe sarcastic. You'll love this new flavour milkshake. It comes in 3 counts, 3 flavours: chocolate, nutty nut, and super straw. I think that's more I think that's more fun, right? Good. Identifying the register, formal and tone. So, what is the style of this text? Hi Joe, just wondering if you're coming out later tonight, mate. Quite an informal greeting right there. We're going to meet in the cafe, so there's information there. We're going to meet in the cafe at the square at 7. The table's booked to the restaurant for 8. I really hope you can make it. It's been too long. So that's quite informal there, isn't it? It'll be good to catch up. We can't wait to hear about your new job too. Email, text, let me know. Hope to see you later. So things you can tell from this letter: you've got an informal greeting. Some sentences aren't complete. There are use of that too, where it's stretched out. The use of slang and unnecessary explanation marks. So very informal. And then therefore we've got a formality one here, or a formal one here. And you can see exactly the same where we're looking for on the banks of a beautiful Toronto River. Toronto is a delightful city near the southwest coast. So you can just see from the beginning sentence, it's much more formal. It's using a lot more detail. It's got a very clear tone to it. It's got correct punctuation and grammar throughout. And obviously it's designed to be persuasive because it wants you to go and see Toronto. So your writing will be marked on the use of register to fully suit its audience and purpose. So register is the correct mix of all aspects of your writing: language, level of formality, style, vocabulary, and the use of supporting evidence. Have a look at the levels of formality and style, and let us examine the supporting evidence, especially the vocabulary. So, supporting evidence and essential information. The supporting evidence used will depend on the type of purpose and audience. Looking at these writing types and decide on the supporting evidence could be appropriate here. Supporting evidence can vary from time to time, and an event starts to quote from a source. So on the left-hand side, you've got the types of writing. So first example there, we've got email for a job. An example of possible supporting evidence, you've got work history, skills, abilities, certifications, and current role. So the evidence is in the writing. What is it we're going to put? So if you're emailing a friend about a night out, you would expect there to be supporting evidence around the arrangements, the date, the time, the place. If we're talking about an online complaint about bad customer service, we would need to probably know the date, the time, what took place, what was the example, and who was involved. An email to your boss about taking holiday, the date, time, and reason. So you can see here, you've got a formal comment about a dog found in the park, so your personal experiences, what you saw, what might happen, and then a newspaper article. So when you're doing your written exam, you need to add in the detail, the evidence, to the style of writing to meet the criteria. Equally, supporting evidence is essential information. So supporting evidence depends on the purpose, type, and audience. Look at these writing types and decide the supporting evidence. So if you were to do a blog film review, you might have the title, how long it was, who was in it, the rating, and any film quotes. A financial report will have facts and figures. Receipts will have ingredients, hints, tips, and maybe the order in which it should be done. A complaint letter to your MP would who, what, where, when, why. Statistics. Science article would be formal, paragraph and quoting and relevant sources. And a theme park opening leaflet, date, time, attractions, prices, and offers. So just think about those details that you can be adding into that style of writing. So equally, we then have specialist words, and specialist words help us sound more articulate within the task and gives a better, on paper, a better first impression of your skills. So remember to use the correct words depending on the task at hand. Look at the words and the groups and decide when you might use them. So a job application, appalled, unacceptable, inappropriate. A music review, an email to a boss about holiday, a complaint letter to restaurant, a report on sales figures, or a guide to making a cabinet. So we need to look at this. See, we need to look at the group words and then we need to align them up down here. So for example, if I say I'm appalled, it was unacceptable, it was inappropriate, what one of these do we think that would go to? I think it would be a complaint. In regards to qualifications and skills, that's got to be a job application. Excellent, recommendation, disappointing. Do we think that's a music review? Yeah. Trend patterns, increase, decrease, it's got to be sales figures, right? Then next, remember, always drill saw, how to make a cabinet. And then if I could, that's got to be an email to the boss about taking a holiday. Wonderful. So now complete activity 2 and then come back and let's see how you got on. Okay, welcome back. Now let's have a look at the quiz. When should you use informal styles when you... So informal, remember? Hopefully you said D. Good. When should you use formal writing? So we said work. We said if you didn't know people, and if you're writing to your bank manager, you probably want either an extension, an overdraft, or some money of some kind. So you might want to be very polite about that. So all of the above. Good. In writing tones, tones refer to correct spelling, punctuation, and grammar, the layout of the text, the way in which the language is used to achieve an effect, or the purpose of the text. So hopefully the tone is what we're trying to achieve, isn't it? D. You've received an email from a friend which response isn't appropriate. Obviously, it's already come up as C, so we don't need to worry about that one. You received a complaint from a customer which response isn't appropriate. So we regret that your order is late. That's quite polite. The goods will be with us tomorrow. That all sounds very polite. We're sorry for the late delivery. The parcel will be with you on Friday. Again, that sounds reasonable as a response. Please accept our apologies for the delay. The parcel will be posted today. Again, I think that seems quite polite. Sorry, your order is late. Our supplier is always slow. We'll get it to you ASAP. So I don't think that's the appropriate one, is it? It's a D. Good. So aims and objectives here today, we are looking at being aware of how text and purpose of the text affects the tone and register used. Know how the differences between formal and informal writing, be aware of levels of the formality, and supply supporting evidence in writing. Learners should be able to accept a tone choice in their writing and use the correct registers. Learners could also use specialist words within their writing. Please don't forget to do the knowledge check, and I will see you in the next session. Take care.